The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. It is the T.N.F, the Thursday Night Forum. The night, I promise, Stubbsy's horse, if you're watching, we will hand the keys over to the passengers and we will do a forum show tonight at some point. We've got a couple of points that we'll need to be discussing as well, because it's never a dull moment when you are a Celtic fan. And of course, we are in the news, as always, today for a couple of reasons, and we'll be discussing those points in depth. We'll then be taking your points and going round the houses with our replies. And then I think we'll do some Judge Cairn at the end. Phil, what do you make of that? That sounds like a good night, doesn't it?
That sounds like an absolute plan, mate. I'm all on board with that one. Sounds good to me.
Like it. And brilliant to have so many of you watching already. If you've not hit that like button yet, you know what to do. Please, if you've not hit the subscribe button yet, it's 3,013 already have. Hit it. It's great fun. I love counting it. Gives me a semi. It's brilliant. also, if you want to become a Boise Bus member, like so many of you have, Stephen Murdoch, Kaiser, Kenny McCardle, just the ones that are in front of me right now, all have, feel free to do so. But of course, it is completely optional as always. Well, it's Thursday night, lads. Obviously, the T.N.F have got a stellar lineup. Phil McGinley, the main man, he joins us, as does the judge, Marc Kearney. What more could you want? Oh, I'm here as well, by the way. But more importantly, lads, let's talk about the hoops. Let's talk about a manager first and foremost. Because you know me, I like a wee bit of to and fro with the old pater, shall we say, with those naysayers. And I tell you what, Mr. Postecoglou has Steve Clarke greeting for his mammy. It was a sensational return to serve by Ange last night at Fir Park. I don't know if you've seen his setting. It was utterly bizarre. It was like something for the 70s at Fir Park. There, he was like on a dining chair, sitting behind a desk that had like 70s carpet, 70s couch. I was like, where the fuck is he? Turns out that's just like, that's like the Motherwell press conference room. Utterly bizarre. You need to get that sorted. Fuck me. I'll pay for the laminate floor. Fucking hell, come on. Like, honestly, I was like, Ange must wonder at times if this league is just kind of taking the piss a wee bit. I know it's bonkers and all that. In fact, keep it Motherwell. It adds to the madness. Who cares? So, Postecoglou, of course, was asked about Steve Clarke. Steve Clarke's comments weren't all that bad, by the way. I think there was a bit of an overreaction. My opinion is Steve Clarke just said he was disappointed. Right? The only thing he said that was a bit snide is World Cup coming up. Isn't that, as big as it gets? I'm like, aye, if we were fucking going to, you dafty, do you know what I mean? That's a bit
he
rich
fucking
pulling.
try to kid?
It's a bit rich pulling that one out the bag. But Ange is obviously asked about it and asked, obviously, to enter into verbal combat, shall we call it, right? And, Angie plays it down. But what he says is just, it's outstanding. It's that good, I'm going to read it. He says, I think that's fair enough that he's disappointed because he's in charge of the national team. I have no issue with that. I get disappointed when players go away with the national teams and don't play, yet get injured. We all have disappointments, but we're all big boys, and I'm sure we will get on with it. At the end of the day, it's not our issue, or even Steve's. It's FIFA that designated it not an international window. We've had our trip and planning for a long time. It's important for our football club. It's important for our supporters. I've got no issue with Steve. He's doing an outstanding job as national team manager, and I'm sure he is disappointed. If I was national team manager, I'd be disappointed. And if he was a club manager, he probably wouldn't release the players. So there you go. Mark Kearney, as the judge who lays law and order, does that get your seal of approval, big man?
Fucking does. Fuck him. What a cheat, him coming out and saying, it's no class as a World Cup, as a international break. There's a World Cup going on. Aye, but you're not on it. If that's news to you, you fucking moron, there's something wrong with you. We've got thousands of fans that have bought tickets for this match in Australia, right? And there's going to be, I'm going to guess, hundreds of people travelling to Glasgow, spending probably their Wayne's fucking summer holiday money to go and see Celtic play in Australia. And he wants to bring a good squad. And I think these fans that are travelling will probably see Celtic once in their lifetime. They'll want to see the real Celtic. They'll want to see the Ralstons, the Kyogos, etc. They want to see these guys, you know what I mean? And for that fucking Dublin to come out and say that, claim that Celtic should be releasing their players so that he can play them against Turkey in the most fucking nonsense game of football I've ever heard. I didn't know they were playing until yesterday. I'm actually fed up with international football. We have to sit here, pay people 20 grand a week, then have fucking fannies like that tell us when they can't play. Nah, fuck them, boys. That's my opinion, mate. I think Ange is far too clever for the press or even opposition managers to try and challenge him, because it's going to take a very good calibre of man to get the better of Ange verbally anyway. I tell you something, I wouldn't want to get a fucking come against him physically either, because he's a big unit. I mean, fuck try to stare him doing that tunnel. I think, to be honest with you, the only disappointing part for me is out of all the clubs that have held players back, he chose to out Celtic. And what's that about? You know what I mean?
Well, it's very interesting, Mark, because there was a comment by another national team manager who, again, was disappointed he couldn't pick Carl Starfelt. But what he says in that, which is very, very important, is Carl Starfelt was one of 5 players, Phil, that the Swedish manager couldn't call up because 5 different clubs were utilising the same approach Celtic are and saying, if this ain't, one of these games where we're obliged to release our players, why would we? And it's that simple. So, I don't think Steve Clarke was greeting as much as been made out. But I also think, the wee subtle dig about the World Cup, Andrew just went, you managed that World Cup, mate? Oh, that's right, you didn't make it. I have. I know the importance of all this stuff. And I thought his reply was brilliant, Phil, wasn't it? That's what you want from a Celtic manager.
It just needed the trademark mate on the end of it from Ange. Was fine that they sign it off with
probably
mate.
Edited that out.
Probably did. But no, I'm very much in agreement with what he says. This game coming up for Scotland, I didn't even know it was happening until these headlines came out. I was like, Scotland's playing? What? All I knew about during the World Cup, I knew Celtic were going away to play these friendlies in Australia, but I didn't even know the national team, they were having national teams that didn't qualify for World Cup. We're going to play some games. It's like, it's not even a designated window for when we would normally see an international game. I mean, I always feel that there's too many international breaks during the season anyway. At times, that's Nations League stuff, and also it feels like Scotland just play a lot of the same teams again and again. Israel, and now it's Ukraine. It seems every couple of months it's the same team. So I'm totally in agreement with Ange in this one, and it's, there's nothing on the line for Scotland. I don't think it's a problem. Plus, the guys that are in question, they don't really start that regular for Scotland anyway. So what would they do? Go over to Turkey and sit on the bench? least they've got a chance of getting some fitness, some game time in their legs if they go to the Sydney Cup with Celtic.
Yep.
So yeah, I can see from Ange's point of view as well, but there's no guarantees. Steve Clarke could just take them and just sit them on the bench for the whole game and you don't even use them.
All he's got, Mark, is a lot to lose and nothing to gain by giving those players there. We've committed to a tournament worth, we reckon, around £6 million to the football club. You know, we didn't make it to the latter stages of Europe like we would have liked, which would have brought in extra money. This tournament does actually subsidise a lot of that, you know, the £6 million that's reportedly Celtic are set to earn. Why on earth would he treat that tournament with disdain whilst allowing to, himself to run the risk of players departing with Scotland, not even getting a game, coming back demoralised, or even worse, injured? There was literally no gain. And when it's not even a loophole, when that rule is in front of you, that you do not need to release the player, pick me a manager that would do that with the tournament Celtic have ahead of them. No one.
No, absolutely. You're spot on, mate. And you said £6 million. That's Jota's transfer fee nearly. Right? And see, apart from that, see the long-term effects of this tournament for Celtic. This is going to put the brand out there in Australia. There'll probably guys that are watching Celtic from afar that might just buy a wee strip, get to see Celtic in the flesh, develop a wee love for them. You know what I mean? The brand itself will be exposed as much as possible in Australia. I'll guarantee you they'll be, when they arrive there, it'll be like a small scale like the Beatles arriving. You know what I mean? They will get a lot of press because they all love Ange. And I think there'll be folk at the airport. I'm not saying they're going to be like 5,000 people. There'll be folk at the airport. There'll be folk. Beatles. I mean, fuck it. They're going to be big on the Beatles.
Celtic mania.
It's like Rangers in Canada. Rangers are very big in Canada because there are a lot of Protestants in Canada that have immigrated there. So they would be daft not to use that, but they don't tend to use it as much as possible. But we've got opportunity to go out there, play these 2 games of football, make £6 million. I think the long-term financial gain for that is going to be much more, boys. I think it's going to be really good for the club. I think that's why you seen Ange get out maybe about a month ago with a couple of the directors promoting the arse right office. I'm sure there was obligations by the company that Celtic have got to promote it as much as possible. I'm sure Celtic were out there going like that. Like, wear as much of the Ange jumpers as you can in 40-degree heat. Get them punted because they love you there, big man. Get it. And I totally agree. We could lose a Greg Taylor or a Ralston or something to injury so he can sit on a bench in Turkey. No thanks. I go on holiday to Turkey if I want to. None of the Celtic players, they've got games to play. We pay them 15-20 grand a week. Fuck them.
Yeah, it's that simple. Did you see Phil the mural of Big Ange that they've got in Australia yet? No, it's him walking with the SPFL trophy. It's like they've bought into this big time, and it's important that we replicate. We sort of reciprocate that and go. We'll treat the tournament with respect, and you'll see, bar those that are at the World Cup, all the Celtics. Beatles, like Kyogo with the haircut, especially.
Good point. Aye, bit of Kyogo mania that would be then. But no, I've seen that mural. It is class, and I think you even said. I remember at the time when Ange was around. So obviously we got many of journalists from that side of the world telling us, they were all behind him, every one of them. And actually, that would be a thing if we were to appoint an American manager. The same thing would happen. But it's shown in the time that he's been here. You can understand why they back him and why they want to see he's a phenomenal manager. You listen to the cut of his jib, essentially, the way he deals with things. The guy's an absolute, legend. And it's going to be a great moment when you go back over there. They will celebrate him accordingly. But yeah, that mural was fantastic. And it's good to see stuff like that. It's really spreading the brand of our club as well worldwide. And this will do wonders for us when we go over there.
Don't forget the deal. It's got to be a nice all, boys.
Well, this is it. I mean, if they've been paying attention to the bus, mate, it's written in the stars. They release the 4th kit that is based on the Australian national top in time for the World Cup, and they give Ange a new contract. That would be the perfect way to spend this ridiculous break that we're having mid-season for a World Cup, wouldn't it, Mark? That would be the dream scenario, eh?
That would actually break their internet over there. That would be big news because they would actually feel like they're giving us the news second hand. They'd feel like they've got a party hand there. And they're actually selling Australian t-shirts in the Celtic shop just now. I was doing my wee nosy as I always do earlier on, and I seen this. And what's that? It's like a big Australia t-shirt that's got the Celtic badge through the...
Oh, really?
It's It's got the Australian map through the Celtic crest or something like that, but they're selling it already. That's obviously due to get launched for the tour, you know what I mean? And I think it's a great idea, mate. And do you know, it's actually fell into place, and well done the Celtic team who put us together, because they've used the World Cup's crazy period to the club's benefit, you know what I mean? And I can just see Moy with that fucking Celtic tap on, if I get revealed, I can see Ange still in there. Probably a bit naive of me, but if I go to announce Ange, what a place to do it, because they would lap that up like a fat Wayne eating cake. I'm telling you, they'd love that.
Oh, and do you know what? I think you're right, and it would put to bed all the talk we've had of surely Celtic's offered him a new deal by now, Phil. Like, we've got form for it. Like, when Brendan Rodgers joined, he was in a 1-year rolling deal. He smashed it out the park first season, and we gave him a 4-year deal. We reaped the rewards when he left, albeit it was a sour ending. We still got £9 million to soften the blow with. Like, this is the sort of situation surely we've got to get Ange into. But why not add the X factor to it, Phil McGinley, and let it happen in Australia on Ange's homecoming tour?
I believe the term we use it many times on the bus is a box office. I think that would be very much box office indeed, you know, to do it there in front of, you know, his adoring public in Australia. And, you know, he's a hero over there. They will absolutely love that. And I say we would love it as well, because we beat it on the bus all the time. And I'm stunned at the amount of times on comments, live comments saying, you know, we'll criticise the manager and we're not behind him and stuff. Well, we say more than anybody, we want him tied down to a longer deal. We don't like this idea that he's on a 1-year rolling contract. You know, it's like, come on, let's protect our assets here. You know, the playing squad isn't the only assets to the club. The manager is as big an asset, maybe even bigger at times, as we saw with obviously the Brendan Rodgers thing. You know, so tie him down. You know, people will be taking note of the stuff that he achieves here, and make sure, you know, that we've protected our assets here.
Totally,
so I really want to see it happen. You know, get that deal signed, Ange. But I did see a comment as well about would Aaron Moy make the plane. Well, Aaron Moy won't be in the Australia tour, because obviously he got called up for the World Cup this week.
Yes.
He'll be away to Qatar to play for Australia. Well, he might play. I don't know if he'll be on the bench or not, but he's in the squad for the Australia, so he won't be out in Sydney playing for Celtic that couple of days.
I seen the videos earlier on of the Free Hearts players getting the surprise phone call they were told was getting filmed, probably. I don't know if he's heard it. It was like, oh my God. Oh, you're going to work. What are you doing next week? Oh, do I go to Qatar? Oh, no. As if they fucking never knew that was going to happen. But they got to say, no, I've got 2 weeks in Alicante with the missus. Fuck off. And I think it was a guy.
2 weeks in Alicante.
Was it the guy who was in Naples that did the phone call? Who is that guy? I can't be their manager, surely.
What, Dr. Kennedy? No,
remember the guy who died?
Dennis,
remember the main host that was always in Naples as away when you're away watching
Donovan.
No,
obviously
maybe his family, but he died in the show. But I'm sure it was that cunt who did it. I'm like, no way they're using that guy to phone up and tell fucking a boy for hearts he's got to get papa for 3 weeks to get fucked. You know what I mean? No way. What's
that the equivalent of? Do we Ned for River City doing like the Scotland players if we were at the World Cup?
Well, we would get Naveen to do it. We would get that is how we would do it. We'd have a brass neck for us. We'd date something. We would get Naveen to phone up and tell fucking Lee Griffiths he's get his career revived again, and he's to meet at fucking a train station in Shettleston or something. We'll pick him up in the bus. You know what I mean? I can imagine it. Oh. Fuck.
Well, it's all fun and games and it's all laughter. There's more than 100 people watching live. Big shout out to all yous for jumping on the bus this Thursday evening. We now need to talk about the elephant in the room, because obviously news is broke tonight. There is reports, Phil, that Celtic have approached or are about or set to approach, we should say, the powers that be regarding their confusion, their surprise, their probably bafflement at the camera angle used to cement the lines for Jota. I've probably got an alternative view on this.
Yep.
I think, I'll be completely honest with you, I think the noise is so big from Celtic fans right now surrounding VAR and the many decisions, and rightfully so, may I add, and we've spoke about it at length on the bus, but I can't help but feel they went for the easy open goal option here. Now, in my eyes, Celtic had to do something at some point. This couldn't go on much longer because the fans are in raptures already about this. There is uproar. Wherever you go on social media, it's all the podcasts and stuff that are normally sort of mild mannered. Even they're saying Celtic win against Motherwell and VAR, right? When they're getting on board with that sort of thing, you go, fair enough. This is how widespread this is now amongst our support. Celtic had to act. Are you honestly telling me that a camera angle that at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, is showing Hawkeye technology to prove an offside? Okay, the camera angle's miles away and it pissed me off last night. But is that really the straw that broke the camel's back? I mean, this is what I don't get. For me, there's bigger issues that have happened this season. I'm going to say it right now. Bernabei's handball at the weekend, that to me was the trigger that needed pulled, because we've seen at Tynecastle a far more blatantly obvious handball not given. Yet Bernabei gets a booking for that as well as the penalty conceded. That is a disgrace. That to me is when you go, hold on a minute here. How's VAR being utilised? What is the decision-making process? What is the handball rule now? And how are VAR just making their decisions on these? Because if my memory serves me right, the James Forrest wouldn't even go to VAR.
Well, Nick Walsh did the whole thing, touched the earpiece, and then the players were crowding, and he went, just dismissed him after 10 seconds, going, no, play on.
I didn't think it was as long as 10 seconds, but I hear your point. Yep. That's right. That's what happened. So there was no replays or all. There was no searching for something, even though it was staring them in the face. Now, then you get that Bernabei one. To me, that's when you go all in. Instead, Celtic have done what I think is a wee bit of virtue signalling to appease the fan base and go, see, we're being really big boys and we're dealing with this head on. But the reality is, the SFA's reply is already written, mate. They'll be looking at us going, I can't believe they're going to pull us up for what? Something that is 100% accurate, the offside rule. Okay, the camera angle, we could say, we got that wrong, we should have shown you it from the other angle. What's that do, though? That doesn't change the fact. Hawkeye, they'll say, Celtic paid the most money for this technology. Celtic voted for this technology. And Hawkeye is 100% not to be argued with. The technology that actually used to give an offside. Offside's the one that is black and white. I think Celtic are acutely aware of this, Phil McGinley, right? I think they're acutely aware that'll be the reply, but they've appeased the fan base by going, look, we actually went to them. See, we've got your back. And it's just to settle the crowd down a wee bit, I think, right now. Deep down, there's been far, far more serious incidents. Look at that foul on Starfelt last night, for example, Phil. Come on. Now, the thing is, the beauty of VAR is, you look at that in slow motion and it gets worse. That's what the whole fucking point of VAR is. They get the benefit of looking at these in slow motion. They get a better second look at it. That is a knee-high tackle that is reckless, out of control, and a career ender. I think Starfelt sees it coming. I think he's just ever so slightly hesitated, which has allowed it to catch his trailing leg in the ankle. But if he had not hesitated slightly, that's just below the knee. Studs up. I can't understand how that's not getting looked at. I feel that the camera angle argument, I think, is something they already know the answer to, Celtic. I know that might be an alternative view, by the way, because I know a lot of fans are delighted Celtic are going to the board. But that's my takeaway from it.
Aye. Well, I think the first thing we should just caveat is when I saw that headline tonight, I obviously saw the source that it was posted from, and naturally it's the worst possible red top newspaper you can think of. But I thought, okay, I'll humour it and I'll read the article. And the very first couple of words say, Celtic are set to seek SFA clarification, because the headline makes it sound like we have. So the moment we have it, but I'm sure Russell will come on it in a few minutes about how that story has ended up again with that red top newspaper.
It's so frustrating because that is just a paper that Celtic should be so far removed from. It should be something that we do. Yeah, all our big stories in the last couple of years has been tipped off to that red top of all red tops. I just think that's that doesn't sit well with me. Sorry, Phil.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to just caveat that first, just in case anyone's wondering where the story came from. I just thought I would say, well, just remember it's coming from this source, so take it for what it's worth. But if it is indeed true, Celtic should have obviously acted after the Hearts game. right away, the very first game, just strike with irons hot. The handball with James Forrest is still the most ludicrous decision out of all of them. And here's another thing. I think it was Connor Carr said in the group chat the other day that obviously up until Tuesday night when Aberdeen played Livingston, there'd been 19 games played with VAR in the Scottish top flight and 13 penalties been handed out through a VAR review. And majority, you look at the handballs from the Aberdeen Livy game the other night, there were 3 penalties awarded, all for handball in the game. And it's just getting to the point where what is the handball rule now? This whole subjective thing, that is like that word is just causing so much carnage right now. Should we go back to a stage where it's just black and white? If it hits your hand, I'm sorry if it was accidental and you were too close to it, but at the end of the day, if it hits your hand's appeared, do we go back to the type of rules? I don't think they could change it at this point. But obviously they've opened up a can of worms with it's got to be subjective. And it seems like so many different people have got a very different interpretation of it. There is no consistency again. And as for last night with that offside goal, it may very well be offside. All we're asking is the same thing with the Abada goal at Tynecastle in the last minute. Just shows the proof. Because Alan Burrows, the Motherwell CEO tonight, was asked about it on Twitter, and he tweeted back and basically said that there were 6 cameras in operation as you expect, and the 2 18-yard lines were both being monitored by cameras. We only saw one from the 18-yard line at the other end of the park looking down towards Jota's back. All we're asking is, it might very well be offside, but we need to see conclusive proof. Every time you see a VAR decision get overturned by offside in England, for instance, they will always take the time to show you the replay on the screen with the lines across the park. And that's 2 times now it's happened to Celtic where we haven't seen a conclusive angle or, in Abada's case, lines across the park to tell us. That's all we're asking. Just show us the proof and then we can go, okay, fine. We accept it.
Bitch. The rule's a bitch, but we'll get on with it. Do you know what I mean? If it's a ball here, it's a ball here, and we can sit and moan and say, well, actually, ball here shouldn't count. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I agree with the camera thing. I just feel it's such a powder puff example to go to. Oh, we didn't get to see the right camera angle. When I'm like, there's far more pressing ones that I think Celtic could have really went to town with. And I think they've took the easy option and they already know the reply. Over to the judge.
No, I think we're missing the point here. I think I hate using this word because most folk are fed up hearing it, but a lot of these decisions that we're moaning about, which we all know are bad decisions for Celtic, a lot of them are subjective, you know what I mean? And it's like, other than the ball crossing the line at any point in the pitch or offside, every decision is subjective. So I don't really buy the argument myself. I think the point here is the VAR itself, and I know it sounds tedious, probably, I know what you're saying, they've used the wrong camera angle. In fact, Motherwell updated the system at their own expense for that match last night, right?
Alan Burrows said that, yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, they've used VAR wrongly last night. I mean, VAR is for the benefit of, I'm sorry to say this, it's for the benefit of TV viewers. It's not for the man in the stadium because they don't actually get replays, etc. So it's for, and they've used that technology wrong. I think Celtic have used this as the smoking gun, not because they think they're cheating or anybody's cheating, but although I think they're cheating bastards, but I think they've used this as a smoking gun to say, look, we're keeping our eyes on you. We will be on top of this. And see if that puts 1 milli, a wee scintilla of doubt in their mind that they can't just do what they want to us. Just that wee modicum, that wee small
Mark,
doubt in their minds.
Why go for such a small play?
What?
Why go for such a small play though, Mark? When you've got bigger examples that we get far more of a percentage of, whoa, okay, those handballs, oh, you fucker, they have got a point there. Now, they can say subjective all they want, but the fact of the matter is that
but see the Hearts one, boys, see the Hearts one, and I think the Motherwell one, and I've heard it. I've seen ex-referees, some ex-professionals. It's funny how they always ask ex-Rangers players their opinion on Celtic decisions. It's funny that bit, so they can get the narrative out there. But I've seen as many dodos say it wasn't a penalty, and it was a penalty. So they're kind of covering bases. See this one, Celtic says, look, you have no, this is what I think Celtic are doing. You have not shown the evidence that you're supposed to show. In fact, the contrary, you've actually used the worst angle that you could have picked. And we're just saying to use, and you're right, they've chosen the Sun. The Sun's been getting chosen for, like, I don't like them using Stephen McGowan either for the, is it the Times he likes for?
Daily Mail.
The Mail, that's Peter Lawwell's pal. I like that guy getting hangy dear. I'd like the Sun or him. Because they're all cheeks to the same arse as far as I'm concerned in Scotland. But I think that's the thing. See the decision and what match that was and what the incident was. I think that's a sideshow here, guys. I think the real thing is Celtic are telling their fans. That could have been a red card at Ibrox yesterday. Celtic are using this to say, look, we are the daft. We know what you're supposed to be doing. We know the rules. You've gave us a dossier. We've attended training courses that you've put on at Hampden, at Clydesdale House, which they have, the club that I've been to them. You've done your part. And just so you know, we're not going to let you fire out any shite getting dished up to us. We want it to be done properly. We want to be playing in a level playing field. And we're keeping our eyes on you. And that's what I think they've did. I don't think they've used it as... See this pish... I keep on hearing it's teething problems. There's no teething problems with this thing. VAR works. It's a camera. The camera doesn't lie, although it can be manipulated, but the camera doesn't lie. It's the people who's looking at the camera and saying, "Oh, that is apparently that's a handball. Is that a green and white strip? Okay, he's at the park." That's the thing that's bothering me. It's VAR.
But that's not what they're highlighting, Mark. That's
they're highlighting the fact that
they're highlighting one that is definitive. And offside Hawkeye technology is
no, but you're right. They
white.
highlight the fact that it's not getting done right. But boys, they highlight the fact that it's not getting used properly. In fact, Phil said 2 minutes ago, and he was spot on. They dismissed a clear red card this last night and last week, almost instantly. Don't bother go to see it, mate. No, it's fine. Just carry on.
Yeah,
but they'll spend 3 fucking minutes analysing Abada's goal last week, which is about a yard and a half onside. I was sitting in the Jockstein stand, and I've got one eye that barely works, and I can see that the ball never got touched off of my header. But it took these fucking idiots 3 minutes to figure that out, boys. But when our opposition score, it takes them 5 seconds to say no, straight on goal. I think Celtic are watching this. I
agree with that.
And they're pinpointing, they're watching these. That's what I think they're doing. That's what I think they're doing.
That's fair. That is fair. But I think the other examples you're giving, though, I'm not sure Celtic are going in with them being used whatsoever. Yeah. All they seem to be doing is going in with this very one-dimensional, we're not happy with the camera angle that evidence was shown at. SFA will give a party political broadcast of an answer, Phil. This is what's going to happen. They're going to give Celtic spent more than any other club on this and voted overwhelmingly for it. That technology is 100% accurate. They gave the offside. They never questioned that before it. That's the decision made. Okay, you're right about the camera angle. But that is really, I mean, what else can actually come of that? Whereas the examples Mark's given, in comparison, I feel make a far more compelling argument to have took to the SFA. And I would have been doing it already.
Yeah.
Because you nip it in the fucking bud. And I'm just not sure this argument carries as much weight as the amount of examples Mark's just listed. I've listed a few I think that we could have went with.
I mean, we probably won't be privy to what exactly gets said if Celtic are indeed going to approach them. But, you know, you'd like to think it's more than just, as you say, just a 1 point going in there. You could easily remember a couple of a year ago with the 8-point complaint that Rangers put in about, was it Kevin Clancy after Pittodrie? It's like it was like 8 or something points, so these things he did. So it's like you'd like to think Celtic can compile a very similar type of list of all the problems. We've just literally went through them. You know, starting the time castle, that's when it should have happened. I mean, the very first game. But I'm also really hating this attitude that's coming, the wee patronising pat on the head you get for media types, where it's like, okay, he's a winning anyway, what he's moaning about. You know, it's like, that's not the point. That's the most frustrating bit about it, where I just feel like Celtic can't win in this argument. They come out, if they do it when it's too late and they basically do make a public complaint about it after we drop points, you know what's going to come for that. That's why I keep saying, well, we should try and call it out when we're winning. But it seems like even if we do, you'll get your Ewan Murrays and your Tom Englishes of the world with a wee patronising tweet going, Celtic moaning about, they got more money than anybody, you know, they've got the biggest fan base, so they win all the trophies, they're winning all the time. What are they complaining about? Yeah. It's like we just want to be called fairly. It's all we want. You know?
I know. Steve O'Mac comes in. Brilliant to have you on the bus, mate. I've noticed your name popping up more and more recently, and it's great to see. And he's saying, sorry, boys, I'm actually agreeing with you, Steve-O. I think me and you're on the same page here. He says, Hawkeye is black and white. That's what I'm saying. I agree. When it comes to lines and offsides, it is black and white. Calibrated distances and lines. The major issue is the poor use of the visuals for fans watching and the poor use for Phils, which I think is the angle Celtic. I totally agree with all of that, Steve-O. And I think that is not the strongest debate to be taken, when I think there's far stronger arguments. Celtic have a far stronger hand on that to say, hold on now. How is it missing this but picking up on this? How is it a 2-second decision for something that is potentially obvious and glaring, like that red card last night? But then other decisions that maybe aren't as straightforward, it's 5-6 minutes at Celtic Park and all this nonsense, right? That's what I think would have been the stronger argument. But I'm going to come to you, Mark, with another question on this. How does Celtic tackle it? Let's just say this carries on. Fast forward 3 months. Me and you have went, honestly, to the moon and back, just talking about VAR and getting fucking nowhere, right? What approach can Celtic actually take? Now, no, I don't mean this. There's a couple of options people are suggesting in the comments, and we are going to go through the comments tonight. I can assure you that in the next 5 minutes we'll open up the forum. But the comments that are coming in are suggesting, is there a way to get the audio? Maybe not play it on the TV live, but is there a way that the audio decision making, they can be mic'd up in the wee van, whatever it's meant to be, whatever the hub that they're in, and they're mic'd up, and we can you get Celtic gets sent it, and you get an understanding of how they've came to the decision that they have. Is there another option? If Celtic are really willing to go the full hog, and let's get one thing right here, there is 40 million or 30 to 40 million, as it seems, at stake again this season. If we don't, if we win the league or don't win the league, that's a lot of money. Would it be worth Celtic to go that extra mile, call everyone's bluff, and say, see, the better version of VAR, we'll fucking pay it? I know that's obviously anyone would be right to say, well, whoa, why are we doing that? Why can't the other clubs fork out? But just call the bluff when you're sitting there and go, we want it fair, no one's prepared to do it, we'll fucking pay for it. That would put the cat amongst the pigeons, Mark, would you know?
I've got another suggestion, and this one I think is absolutely fair, and it'd be just to ask. We're not just to blindly trust that everybody's honest or everybody's dishonest. There should be officials for every club participating in these matches sitting inside Clydesdale House watching these matches, who are privy to the conversations. That would actually... I actually think the World Cup's going to have their audio available after each match, so I think that's going to be happening in the World Cup. So this might open up doors for it to happen in the Champions League, etc. So I'll find its way to us in 29, 36, I'm sure. And by that, I'll probably buy their pigeons. We'll get the fucking diet version of it. But I think, what's wrong with sending a delegate, if that's the right term, for Motherwell and Celtic to sit in Clydesdale House and be privy to big decisions? Because that way there's a clear and obvious reason given. There's a communication. There's no ambiguity. I mean, I'm sure if the two sitting there for each club and there was something seriously wrong with the conversations, one name would report it back to the club. It would give us a wee bit of, I'm not saying it was somebody we have to know who it is, but it could be somebody for the club that attending every match. I'm pretty sure there's people in Celtic Park and that are well versed in the rules of the football, very well versed trainee referees, people who have been through the system that know the rules of the game. You know what I mean? They can attend courses, and I think that's a solution. I also think that if it goes to as far as you're suggesting, Boyce, I think Celtic do a Rangers type statement. They don't even go as far. Don't even need to name names. Just a Rangers type statement and say, look, here's some evidence of things that we've got slight concerns about, and we want clarification, and see where that takes us. But I think my first suggestion might be an idea.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad at all. Phil, any input on that?
I think that'd be good to get some sort of like representation. I think that could if somebody from the clubs is basically looking over their shoulder, if there is any sort of shenanigans going on, then that'll definitely change the attitudes. But can I raise one last point on the adaptation of the rules on VAR? Just another thing that happened last night which I found interesting because obviously our neighbours down south in England have had VAR going for a few years now. And I just find it really interesting how, like, because it's a game of football, it's a worldwide sport. You'd think the rules are universal. But I saw a moment last night, which again just shows how we're adapting the rules differently. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it was the right decision, and I agree with this. But down in England, we see a precedent down there where, when it comes to the offsides, so Motherwell scored a goal last night, and when they stopped it, Jock Brown was on the commentary stream I was watching, and he made a point about, I mean, I know his arm's offside, but you can't score a goal with your arm, which is correct, right? But down in England, we've seen some mad decisions with VAR where it's like a bit of their arm is offside. There was one a few weeks ago, or a couple of months back at the start of the season on a match of the day, when Crystal Palace beat Aston Villa 3-1, and there was this bizarre decision from VAR where Gary Lineker, Martin Keown, I think it was Jermaine Genius when they should do that night, and they came to the conclusion that the only thing that I think's offside there is a bit of his sleeve, and it's like how tedious it can be. And it's like, so down in England, their rules are different to ours, and it's like, but we're all playing the same sport, so it's weird how one FA has got a different interpretation of stuff, and it's like, I saw that last night, and I saw the arm offside, the T.N.F, and I was like, well, indeed, you can't score with your arm, but we've seen it in England. I disallowed when Dermot Gallagher was on Sky Sports News on a Monday morning after the James Forrest handball at Tynecastle. His conclusion was he didn't really commit to it in any way. He just kind of said, in the Premier League, that'd probably be given. He said, I know up in Scotland they've got different interpretations of the handball rule, and again, it's like, we're all playing the same sport. Why is it all different in different countries? What's going on here? Either. Oh, mental.
Yeah, I find that absolutely baffling. But we've been on for nearly 40 minutes. It is time to turn over to the viewers. If there's any points you want to make, they can be VAR related if you want. We are all for it. Like this one coming in for Scott. I think you'll probably like this as well. How about a representative from each team in the VAR room? They can't comment when they're there, but at least they can satisfy themselves it is all above board.
That's what I just suggested, mate, to be honest with you. And I think it's a good idea, boys. I feel like it would probably take a wee teensy bit of suspicion away from what's happening behind the scenes. That or a GoPro camera or some sort of visuals for the fans to be fed. It can only be a good thing, in my opinion, mate. Phil?
No, I agree with it. I totally agree. As I said a minute ago, like, any sort of skullduggery shenanigans that are going on, then that'll nip it in the bud. Because if you've got somebody from the club and an impartial observer basically breathing down your neck, it's like, if there's anything going on, then they can catch them out and can report back to the club what was done and what was said. So, but they wouldn't allow that anyway for that exact reason. You just know they wouldn't.
That's too. I just don't think outside the box with a small country that thinks small and will never ever push the boundaries, and we just don't want to innovate or even match the times. It's just a shit show.
Aye, it's a strange one. I think that they've got VAR in for VAR's sake, for VAR's sake.
VAR's, calling it a VAR's.
Aye. In comes Elias Mangi. Elias Mangi, cool. Thank you very much for the kind tip, mate. We do appreciate that. He says, hello from Fiji, lads.
Nice.
Oh. Quality. He says, what do you think about rotating the VAR personnel in all UK Premier League competitions every week? Loving the show, on the hoops. I mean, this is the thing. We simply can't afford them. We simply cannot afford to get these sort of officials to do us those sort of turns. I think one option you could maybe look at is if there were to be retired officials from other countries. I'm not saying just necessarily England, that maybe are looking for a wee bit of work on the side that could come in at weekends, they get designated a game and look at it from an obsidiary eye. That's what I think we all feel. The problem that we've got, right, is we're caught in this world where we feel there's too many examples over the years for this not to be slanted against us, right? No matter what. So no matter who they put in that van, that hub, whatever, fucking that truck, whatever they're sitting in, that's how it's described. It's weird.
Yeah.
But whoever's in there, we're going to always think, are they looking at it from a certain set of eyes, as opposed to fair ones, balanced ones? Do you think it's feasible for people from out with? The thing is with this as well, with VAR, where have all these officials came from? because
Aye.
when you think about it, this must take up a lot more. They must need a lot more officials, obviously, working on each game now. That's how obviously there was a lot of expense and all this. Now, where are they coming from? And if there had been work going in the summer and a lot of jobs, why not get independent viewpoints on this to run the VAR? I don't mean on the pitch. I know that's something people are against, and I get the reasons why. Obviously, it's our game. You should have, domestic officials running it. But I don't see anything wrong with external advice coming in and looking at these VAR decisions, Phil. Guys that have been refereed at a bit of a higher level than the SPFL coming in going, fuck it, I'll come in every second week. Even if it's only once every 2 weeks, some of them you get a pool of them, and then you're just picking and choosing. Big Anders Frisk coming in with these big
Anders Frisk
coming in and going like that. I'll come and settle this. Do you know what I mean? But I think
Luigi Kalina, mate.
Yeah, big Kalina in there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's got to be an argument though to go, I get you. Even that Dermot Gallagher, I mean, for example, and I'm not saying he should be doing it or whatever, but when you've got ex-referees like him willing to go on to Sky Sports News once a week, what would stop there being, guys who are kind of a higher stage than us coming in once a week to do the weekend fixtures or do one of the games or whatever? Do you know? Just think outside the box a bit.
Aye. I think actually a minute ago what I was saying about down south, they seem to have a different set of rules to us. So that would be probably a problem by the way regarding the comment on the screen just about other personnel from other UK like football associations doing it. So first of all, they'd all need to get on the same page, it seems, with the rules, because our interpretation of some things is different from theirs. But if it was that would be the case, that'd be fantastic, because again, fans were always going to be conditioned to be that bit paranoid and not to be trusting any officials. So raise all doubt. And also, you said the second ago, boy, say about where are they getting all these numbers from. I heard that one of my mates who's a Rangers fan said to me that they had a linesman as their VAR referee one week. It's Alan Mulvaney or something like that. I've seen him as a linesman sometimes at some of our games. But apparently he was serving as their VAR referee. So they're even getting linesmen to watch the screen as well. So that's it, because there's 6 Premier League games every round of fixtures. So that's 6 referees, man in the middle. You've got a 4th official as a referee, 2 linesmen. So the numbers, if you're adding in a VAR official, it doesn't add. There's got to be more, so they're actually using linesmen to watch the screens as well. That's how they're padding out the numbers. But
you just think a full fixture card on the Saturday at 3 o'clock, Mark, and you're going, where have all these extra officials came from? Do you know what I mean? And are they really... it doesn't make sense to me. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, well, surely the amount of people they now need on match day, Saturday 3 p.m. has trebled in the SPFL. And then the other leagues, if they're promoting referees from that to maybe referee games or be in that VAR hub, whatever you want to call it, that means there must have been a bit of a wave of new referees promoted into Scottish football that we don't seem to have heard about.
I mean, the pool of referees in Scotland are at a very, very low standard as it is. You know what I mean? Promoting people kind of unnaturally, you know what I mean? I don't know, the referees in Scotland are really, really poor level as it is. So the thought of somebody who's not deemed at a good enough level to be on the park himself week in, week out really gives me concern, you know what I mean? I think ultimately the problem goes back to, I think the decisions getting made for the referee by these inferior referees in the studio, telling these folk there's nothing to look at and all the rest of it. I think every decision should be made. I think VAR should only get involved if they're going to tell the referee to go to the camera. See if they think it's not worth going to the camera, don't even talk to them. Just leave it. Because the referee has got to make a decision, in my opinion. No point even saying, hang on, may I make my red card? I've looked at it and it's no. Because again, that's what this guy's sitting in a chair. He's made a decision that the guy in the park is ultimately going to be judged on. And I don't think that's fair for the referee in the park, but I also don't think it's fair for the 22 men on the park either. Because if they're not getting refereed to the level or the standard that it should be. I mean, that guy he's talking about, I'm pretty sure that's a baldy guy. That linesman that he's talking about, he's a horrific linesman. That's that guy. He was a linesman, I think, last weekend, and it's not the first time this guy's come up when Celtic are playing. He just can't wait to get that flag up when Celtic's running up the park.
Elsie
but
Johnston went to McDermott.
it was did again last week at the Dundee game, Phil. So it was, and nah, I totally agree with you. Where you pull these guys for, because it's like they're pulling them out the gutter. You know what I mean? Guys that have maybe not made it up the grade, that are maybe sitting in the second, the first division, who are not quite ready for the big league yet, but they're coming in and making major decisions in their top division. As you said, it can cost a club 30-40 million pound and cost managers their jobs, and ultimately can cost the smaller clubs promotion, relegation, and their stature.
Yep, I hear you. Phil, Paul Diet says he can't, obviously tongue in cheek, can't wait to see how VAR works out on the 2nd of January. It's going to be something that very much, it consumes minds though, doesn't it, Phil? Because when you consider the World Cup break, that fixture ain't too far down the pipeline, mate, in our list of league games. That is looming a shadow over this like you would not believe, Phil McGinley.
Yeah, I think you've said on here about this season will have the asterisk next to it with the VAR season, and obviously this is going to be the first Celtic Rangers game with the VAR in play. You just know there's going to be a big moment. It's going to go one way or the other. Well, we probably know what's going to happen, but hopefully we can erase all doubt and just put enough goals past them so it's not an issue. But you just know with the way things have went so far, there's going to be some major flashpoint during the game, and it's going to go to VAR, and whatever side it goes against, it's going to be weeks of debate in the newspapers, no accepting it, and maybe Crawford Allen will come out from under his rock.
You need to clever though. I think we're playing too much into the VAR's hands. We gave away about 5 penalties in 3 matches there. We need to start being a bit clever. Celtic need to use this period, the World Cup, 5 weeks we've got off. I think we should use this as a way of just firming up our approach to corner kicks, free kicks, etc., because it's a bit of concern for me just now.
Definitely. I mean, right now we're entering in a storm, if you want my tuppence on it. I mean, it's just like I just think that game has now got all the hallmarks of being maybe going back to the likes of, no, I don't mean the managers, obviously. We know Ange deals with absolute dignity and class in these controversial situations, but remember the shame game, as it was then named, when it was Lenny and McCoy in the touchline, and you could see tempers fraying, particularly when it could be the final nail in the coffin to their title challenge if we were to go a goal up or whatever, things like that, and you could just see it erupt, and particularly when it's at their ground as well this time. I just think there's a recipe for disaster here. They need to get their shit in order. They need to put to bed what they'll be viewing and hoping the narrative gets pushed. It's our paranoia, but they don't want that to keep festering away. And I wonder if, even when we look back at what we were talking about earlier with Celtic approaching the SFA, they've got one eye maybe on this, this derby coming up as well, Mark, and are thinking we need to try and allay the fan base's fears here, because if we do nothing and then the 2nd of January comes in, there's a big shocker there, we're then going to start turning our attention to our own club and going, you fucking played under these rules for the last 5 months and done nothing. You did nothing. And before you know it, they feel the wrath, as opposed to, do you know what I mean? The actual powers that be who are culpable. That makes sense.
It does. I think there'll be a lot of people in the mindset that Celtic will be complicit if they don't say something, or they don't try and at least kind of put a wee halt to any fears the Celtic fans have got just now. I don't doubt that the directors and the hierarchy at Celtic Park don't sit and shake their head when they see decisions and on, and they retire to the smoke room after the final whistle and curse the referees. I'm sure of it, but they always have this saying where they do things quietly in-house. And I like the fact that Celtic try and be a bit classy, but I think sometimes when you're in a dogfight, you need to start biting. Boys saying, I think Celtic need to do the exact same things Rangers are doing, because they put class to one side. I mean, nothing epitomises that last night when they had a massive willy and 2 soldiers sodomising as a way of showing respect for the soldiers that died. But no, I think Celtic, I know he's out here top, I think Celtic would be complicit if they don't try and get in early and they've used this as a wee way of saying, we'll get our eyes on you. And I'm fearing the 2nd of January for multiple reasons, but almost all of them is the 2 men that won't be wearing blue that day. It'll be VAR and John Beaton, no doubt.
Kaiser comes in saying the club questioned VAR today, lads. So I don't know, you won't have maybe kept up the live comments like I have, but Kaiser was replying to everyone in the comments thinking that the bus hadn't left the bus stop yet. His screen had frozen, but all the comments were still coming up. So he's been bantering away for the first 25 minutes of the show, just looking at the Boise bus logo, thinking we hadn't started the program. So Kaiser, when you watch the show from the start, you'll see it was actually a big talking point that the club question for today.
Yep.
But I apologies that the bus departed without you, guys. I blame your computer, mate. But I like that. It's like, no, the club question for today. Well, we know. That's what we're talking about, big boy. But not to worry. I hope it wasn't raining, guys, at that bus stop. Let's have a wee look, see if there's any fresh comments coming in from the forum. Let's have a wee look. Egyptian King Phil, he doesn't think this Rangers team or Sevco team, whatever you want to call it, can compete with this Celtic squad. He says it's like a one-legged man trying to run a marathon. Phil, is the gulf that big right now between the two sides?
Yeah, I would say so. I think when it comes to try to compete with us, you might see something similar to what we saw in April, where they might come off out of the traps flying at Ibrox, a ferocious start. But we seem to never get flustered by these type of things, and we just keep playing our game, which I quite like. When it comes to Ange, again, he's signposted it enough times for us that he won't change his ways, and it works well in games like that. When a team comes out, and it's all guns blazing, they tire themselves out, and say what we saw back in April at Ibrox, doesn't surprise me. We just let them run into the ground, and then we just showed our class and just chip away at them, and get the win. And might see something similar again. They do, in terms of like if they put the two squads side by side, obviously they threw a few things at the wall this summer to try and see if it sticks. And look at who's the one with the Welsh winger that they brought in. He's where's he nowadays? And then Lawrence injured. Davis, who obviously was on our short list, he's had injury problems. So it seems like a lot of the new signings they brought in just haven't really added and made them any better. And it's pretty much a lot of the same players that we came up against last season. So given that we beat them to the title last season and had many a good showing, and already have trounced them this season as well, I'm pretty confident the gap is quite significant at the moment. I can only see it getting bigger over the next couple of months.
That's a good answer, Phil. Marc, I'll come to you. The holy goalie comes in. Imagine if it was the actual holy goalie. That'd be brilliant. He says, start 11 for Saturday. I'm not asking to name it 1 to 11, Mark. Was there any sort of changes that you would make, big boy? What do you think?
I would, without a shadow of doubt, and I would prove again last night that Ralston's your number one right back. Get him up the park. Get him against that Ross County. We know what he can do against him. I think Starfelt, I think he's going to get a run of games. I'm quite content that he's maybe going to be the first choice pairing with Carter Vickers. But I think it's a game for Giakoumakis. I think Ross County are big, strong, powerful defenders. He plays better against teams like that. Midfield, I'd leave the same, but I think it's going to be Haksabanovic on the right, Jota on the left with big Giakoumakis. Fight fire with fire and just go off for them. And I think that the break's coming at a good time for Celtic, and I disagree with Phil. I think the gap isn't as big as what the table's going to look just now. I think sliding doors moments. There's been 3 times this season that they could have went top of the league, but for a goal or two, and we've just managed to get a grit and show our class and pull through the matches. As I say, sliding doors for another week, we don't get any goals, and it could be a 1 point behind, or it could be 2 points in front just now. I think the gap's been exaggerated by their poor performances, and I don't think the players are all in on the manager either. I think they're a good team. They're just underperforming just now.
Mark thinks they're a good team. I mean, I've watched them several times. I've been very underwhelmed by what I've seen, to be honest.
That's fair, mate. I mean, that's fair.
But it's strange because the nucleus of the squad is still the same as last year, and I would happily have agreed that, yeah, they are a good side. This season round, I don't know what's happened, but they fell off a cliff.
No playing for a manager.
I know people don't like to get carried away, but for whatever reason, their form is completely dipped. Stubbsy Sauce, I don't know if this is tongue in cheek or not, Phil. Is anyone worried about Suter being fit after the World Cup break?
I totally forgot about him. I genuinely I forgot he even signed for them until that mention there. Because again, where's he been? All I remember is the very first game of the season against Livingston. He got bodied by, is it Newell, the striker for Livingston, and then he chipped McLaughlin, didn't he? Has he played any other games since then? I don't even know.
I think. Well, listen, his stats were the only person that had better stats than him last season was Carter Vickers, and it was in a fine margin. I think the guy's stats were phenomenal. I honestly, really good stats. I think Starfelt was way behind him, so he must be a decent player. I think he's been a Celtic class, but he's a decent player.
Interesting one from Steve O'Matt, and I'd seen NM had been asking as well about transfer talk and all that, and Steve O'Matt saying, Ange basically said our January transfer planning is done and ready to go, which is great to hear because we're forward planning again. Fantasy book, our window, what do you think will come in? I.e., we can't name players, Mark, because we just don't know, let's be honest. But what sort of areas do you think will be the areas that we target to bring players into, and who'd be going out this January?
I think we've all kind of bought into the fact that I think Juranovic is going to go. I think the World Cup's coming at a good time for him, and I think he might be the sacrificial lamb that's going to be gone. And I think he's one that we can afford to let go. But he'll also bring in good money. We'll get about 10 million for him, I think, and we will reinvest it. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a busier than normal January window for Celtic. I think a right back, and I think the elusive third striker might come in. I think Ange can see that the two strikers that he's got, for the quality that they've got, anytime I see the two of them even jog, I'm worried about one or two of them pulling a hamstring or fucking pull. Giakoumakis, his thigh looks like it's made out of fucking paper. I don't know what's wrong with him. For a man mountain that's like my wife fancies, he's no bulk for football, is he really? Every time I touch him, he's on his arse, isn't he?
Walking wounded.
I'll put that one to you as well, Phil. I mean, what areas do you think Celtic will cover? Or in fact, Mark's kind of done that bit. What about players going out? That was the other part of Steve's question. So Mark's done the first bit. You can do the tricky bit.
Obviously, if Kobayashi's coming in, which looks but 99.9% is happening now, then that gives us 5 centre-backs on our books. I could maybe see Stephen Welsh getting a loan deal at the end of the season just to get some fitness in his legs, and maybe he can improve as a player, and then when he comes back in the summer, and maybe Ange goes, okay, that was a successful loan spell. You think to when we were going to Chris Ferreira, Kilmarnock and stuff, and then he came back and got in the first team. So what Welsh needs to play in order to improve, because this occasional cameo that he has, a game every so often, it's not really benefit him. So I could see if we're going to have 5 centre backs, I think Ange might look at getting Welsh a move out. I agree about the Juranovic thing. If there was going to be a big name one, it's probably him. I don't agree with I know a lot of people said they think Matt O'Reilly might be set to check out. I don't see that happening. I think he's still here for a bit longer. And as for the striker thing, I totally think we need to do, but I just feel like Ange has this faith in if Kyogo or Giakoumakis aren't available, then he's quite happy to stick Maeda through the middle or Abada through the middle or whatnot. He just likes to put one of his wingers through there. Now, necessarily as fans, maybe we don't really agree with it. Sometimes the stats might prove it, but he's a manager and he believes in them. And if that's what he wants to go with. But if it was their point of view, I had the choice, then I would try and get another striker, even if it's just a loan to the end of the season, just somebody who's competent enough to come in if they tear out a forum or there's Giakoumakis with the thigh injury again or the hamstring injury, it would be quite handy to have another striker option that could do a job.
Paul Diet comes in. I'll answer this one because we're going to our next segment of the show, our final segment of the show next. He says, do you think Ange might play Starfelt and Jens on Saturday to test Cameron Carter-Vickers for the World Cup? I think Ange just kind of answered this in it was a roundabout way. I can't remember who it was about, but he's not going to be concerning himself with the World Cup being, what's on his mind. He's got to focus on 3 points. Celtic aren't the same side. It's that simple without Cameron Carter-Vickers in it. He is a huge omission when he's not there. Why take the risk? Let's get the 3 points banked. Ange just said he wants two big results. Well, we got a big result last night, not the performance. Let's get a big result combined with the performance. What's one of the key components in that? Cameron Carter-Vickers. So for me, I don't see that happening, Paul. I get the logic, but remember, during the World Cup, we won't be playing any games either. So I think we'll get opportunities to see Starfelt and Jens, obviously in Australia as well in those 2 matches. So I think the argument will be that if we've got that ahead of us anyway, sorry, Cameron Carter, because we can't afford to wrap you in cotton wool for your big World Cup. Celtic comes first. We pay your wages. We're back to the debate almost at the start, at the very top of the show about, Steve Clark mumping and moaning. At the end of the day, we pay their wages, as Mark said. That will come first. Anyway, moving on. Thursday Night Forum would not be complete, Phil McGinley, without a certain man. And that leads...
Was that Thunder and Lightning there?
You're bringing the thunder, mate, like Neil Lennon. That's your new sound effect.
That's what I was
Look, the thunder's going off because Judge Kearney's entered the room. The thunder is here, everybody.
Oh, it's Castle Grayskull. Boys, he was in there.
Thankful we didn't give you a klaxon like the Martin O'Neill klaxon. That abysmal noise.
I like that one.
Was Mark watching Mark's eyes? He's like, what the fuck am I hearing there?
I was like, that one, he's going to get them on. I was like,
We had that lined up this afternoon, mate.
oh, it's a good one. Yeah,
I thought you'd like that.
I'm dark and mysterious and
That's it, mate.
vulgar, so I might as well. Aye, and I wreck Holmes as well. No,
Judge Kearney, take it away.
I'm just fed up with these cretins in the media that just can't wait to jump on any sort of bandwagon that vilifies our club and our supporters anytime anybody's got anything to say about decisions against us or anything in the media that doesn't stack up. We've got the Ewan Cameron, a self-confessed Hearts fan. I'll pause for laughter on that, saying that we're releasing a thread today about how the Hearts penalty last night wasn't a penalty, the handball for somebody in the Rangers box that we all saw the replays here this morning. It looks very dubious. He put like a 500-word essay on how it wasn't a penalty. That they can't wait to justify decisions going for Rangers, and yet we've got guys like Hugh Keevins and Michael Stewart at times, Tom English, like Kenny Clark on the radio Saturday morning for a wee 20-minute segment, saying quote unquote that VAR went just as went to plan. Basically, the decisions that have been what they expected so far. You know what I mean? And I think the decisions that have went against every club has been fucking disgusting, but especially Celtic. But the minute anybody phones up a radio station like me last week, you've got the host of the show slamming a pen down in his notepad because I'm making points about something that I feel has to be brought up. You've got ex-Rangers players coming out and vilifying guys like Chris Sutton and John Hartson for making, I think, fair comments. It just seems to be that anytime Celtic have got a grievance or Celtic have got a justifiable grievance, that is just ridiculed. I mean, I seen the day somebody, I don't know what paper it was for, but they brought up the article for the last time that the referees went on strike, and they put a photograph of that referee, no realising that the article that he put up was because the referee who started this, the snowball effect that led to a strike, was sacked for purposely trying to cheat Celtic out of a penalty. But again, Celtic were still the villains in this story here, guys, and I'm fucking fed up. I'm fed up listening to people speaking like we wear tinfoil hats and we're tuned to a Mars bar. I'm fed up with it. I think Celtic, for all their crimes, in terms of us, how they treat the support and treat us like customers, they come out sometimes and stick up for us. I think the day is a small example about how they can do it. I think they did it back in 2012. They did it well then, and I think I'm just fed up now, mate. Anytime Celtic lose a bad decision, I'm reading half an hour in the papers. They've asked some ex-Rangers player their opinion on it, and they've found some loophole or some justification for that bad decision going against Celtic. And anybody who says different is wearing a tinfoil hat and should be wearing long sleeve jumpers. I don't think so. We see something wrong, we're going to call it out and fuck the lot of them. That's all I'm going to say about that, guys.
Outstanding, Judge Kearney. I enjoyed that, mate. But I'm gonna kind of back you up there, because I'll give you a wee example of mine, and it's a station I can't deny it. I still listen to it a lot of time for the comedy from the other side of the city supporters phoning and raging. But one narrative they have got down to a T is a Celtic supporter will call in, not just yourself, Mark, but any Celtic caller calls in, and they say, what about this decision? What about that decision? And that Gordon Duncan will go, whoa. Your team won 6-1 today, and you're calling us about referees. Then you flip it. We got a bad result. Calls in. Let's be honest, though, guys. It'll go to Hugh Keevins or someone like that. They'll go, let's be honest, guys, here. The referee isn't the reason Celtic lost today. Celtic lost today because they were poor. So you're either deflecting or you're pinpointing referees and you should be celebrating. What's the actual outcome either way? You can't talk about what is in front of you. We don't want that. And it's such a safe way of being able to sort of navigate it and almost ridicule you both ways. So if you win, focus on your team winning. If you lose, focus on your team losing. But I've called in about referees. No, that's an agenda. Either way, you've got an agenda. So they do have sides that tied up in knots. So Mark's quite right to call out the media, isn't he?
100%. In fact, earlier on we talked about that. I said it is an intercycle. You get a wee patronising tweet from a Tom English or something. Why Celtic complaining about that? They won the game. They've got more money. They've got more trophies than anybody else, and it's like, that's not the point we're trying to make. He's only listening to us, you can't see or understand what we're trying to say. It's like, we just want things done fairly. We're just trying to highlight massive deficiencies in the game, and you want to change it to something else about, don't worry. Shut up, Celtic. Go sit in the corner. He's no need to pipe up about that. Come on, man. Honestly, it's a never-ending cycle, and it just feels like you can't win. You just can't get through to them.
They push it, but didn't they fault? They push it, and they come out to Hugh Keevins and be like, what are you wanting? Custodial sentences. No, we're not wanting anything like that, right? We want fairness. We don't want anything other than fairness. We've had 135 years of your cheating, and now we've got 13 men to beat. And you'll need to find new ways of cheating Celtic, because you know what? We'll win again, and we'll win it well.
Love that. On that note, we will round up the T.N.F. Mark Kennedy, that was superb, big man. Big thanks to yourself, the judge, and of course, Phil McGinley. The steady pair of hands on the bus, shall we say. Thanks to everyone in the comments that's made it an absolutely outstanding show tonight. We've really enjoyed that. We've got loads more interaction on the forum, so I hope you're happy with that, Stubbsy Sauce, and we will keep that going, I promise you.
I like the quick fire thing. I think that's good. Quick fire
spot on. He was spot on to pursue that. But Phil McGinley, before we go, talk to us about Nostalgia tomorrow.
Nostalgia tomorrow night is player specific, but it's players specific. It is a sort of like versus type thing where it's one player compared against another, and the two that I've picked to start this one is Moussa Dembele and Odsonne Edouard. So tomorrow night it'll be myself, Liam. We're getting David Logue back on Nostalgia. He's not been around for a wee while, so I messaged him and I was like, "How do you fancy that one?" Because it's a nice recent bit of history. So we will be there. So it won't be a similar format to usual. The first hour will not be what was going on in the world. Here's the music charts. No. Here's transfer markets, dodgy transfer fees. None of that. Oh, no. It'll be the first hour we'll talk about Moussa. The second hour will be about Edouard. And then at the end, we'll sort of like draw conclusions. Who was better? Is the grass really green on the other side after they left the club and what they're doing now? Who's got the better potential to go on and really hit their peak? Because I don't feel either man's peaked right now. I really don't feel like either man's, I
think that's outstanding. That's a brilliant concept.
Where's next for them? Where's next for them? That's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So that will be tomorrow night, 9 o'clock.
Outstanding. Well, hopefully we'll see as many of you as possible for Phil McGinley's Nostalgia tomorrow. From myself, Mark, and Phil. Good night.
Good night, guys. Cheers.
About me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.